Hello, everyone. Obviously got a great divisional opponent coming up this week on the road, trying to get back on track, and I thought it was a great day of, above the neck work, and we're going to continue to just strive and get that much better every single day. So I'll open it up to any questions.
When you go back and you watch the film, how close are you to piecing everything together and just saying, like, man, if I would just do this, we would be much better than what we are?
I feel like, for me, I kind of make the analogy of just like, a cork about to come off a bottle. Just understanding that it's, 1 to 3 little things that I need to change about my game that is going to make a huge difference in the outcome of every single drive in the game. So, yeah, I feel like it's really close, but it all comes down to the consistency of the fundamentals and the little details.
What are the 1 or 2 things you need to change?
I would say, just my posture, the way that I'm processing the defense in terms of I know what I'm getting, but let the rhythm of the play out. Don't be getting to that answer too quick because, it's a timing and rhythm of the concepts and the defenses. And just decision making, just understanding, the situation of the game, not just the concept that I'm trying to execute. Understand, like for instance, that first pick last game. It's 4 minutes going into half. We're on our own side of the territory, and just understand, what that risk factor should be, and go from there. So I'd say those things.
JJ, when it comes to things like posture mechanics, how much of that stuff is new in terms of what they're asking you to do versus the way you've been taught or coached before on it?
It's very new. Coming in here, I was taught how to play quarterback in a very different way, and that's, expected going into the league, going into any new team, any new system. But at the end of the day, it was really just the injuries that I felt like, kind of took away all those reps and the constant repetition to make those a habit and make them concrete like KO talks about. But, yeah, I feel like, it's just the repetitions. How many times could I go home and every time I take the dogs out, I'm getting, 10 drops each time. Little things like that where you just keep building the reps.
JJ, you said a couple times on Sunday post-game that NFL is really hard. Is there a situation where maybe you're putting a little too much pressure on yourself to succeed?
It's a great question. I feel like the pressure level that one puts on themselves has to, match the pressure that the team's going under, especially at the quarterback position. And at the end of the day, pressure is always going to be there, but it's, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis? Who are you internally? And what's going to come out when the pressure's at its highest? So I feel like there's just, so many moments in the 5 games that I've played so far where I felt that pressure show up, and there's little things that showed up in my game that I know I need to work on. So when that situation happens again, it won't be an issue.
JJ, you talk about some of the stuff being new. Like, how hard is it to untrain your mind from 15 years of learning one way and now having to learn a different way?
It's really hard. You're rewiring neurological pathways, and that's not something that happens overnight. So just understanding and giving myself that grace, that patience that, I might not have it today, but it's something that I'm going to continue to strive after day, rep after rep, and get to the place where we all want me to be. And, yeah, it just comes with all those reps because, anything new, like tying your shoe, takes time. And, especially playing at the level of the National Football League, the urgency to it is something very important, but no matter what it is, it's going to take time.
JJ, you've talked a few times recently about just the importance of breathing, staying kind of calm in those tough moments. Like, how much do you think that can be tied to mechanics? Some of these things like posture.
I feel like it could be tied to mechanics in a way of just, what is your physiology like going into that rep? Is it something where, is your body telling you need to press, and having that awareness to be like, no, I don't. I just need to do my job and, take the little things as serious as possible and not let the, external factors of emotion and all that get in the way. But, yeah, I would just say, it's just the reps after the reps for sure.
What is the balance of, like, you're thinking about some of the mechanics, posture stuff, while also managing play call, playbook, time? Like, how do you mentally try to wrap your head around all of that in real time, I guess?
It's a great question again. I feel like It's extremely difficult, understanding that these defenses are not simple. There's a lot of protection plan that takes up a lot of brain space. Obviously, the new concepts going in week after week, the coverages, and those little things about your fundamentals slip sometimes. So I feel like the more preparation I can do throughout the week to make sure those things are to a T gives me more brain space to work on, the consistency of those little things. But yeah, it just comes down to throughout the week, especially today in walkthrough, like really hammer that home. Never take a rep for granted, and just keep building from there.
JJ, what are those conversations like with your skill guys right now? I know Adam, Justin said, if they have to do something extra or say something to you, they'll do that. What's it been like? How are you guys getting over that hump together?
They've been awesome. I can't thank them enough for the patience level and the leadership out of every person in that group. Them pushing me every single day to be the best version of myself and doing it in ways that a lot of people don't see. So, I just love them with all my heart and so grateful for every single one of those boys.
Have you and Justin added anything into your weeks of doing work outside of practice or anything like that?
I would say, it's just more time hanging out. Getting to know each other off the field is always something that is of extreme importance. But, just the communication. Obviously, we've been together for 2 years now, and I feel like we have a really great relationship, to be honest with each other and not let, emotions and egos get in the way. Let's solve this problem. Let's fix the solution instead of, hurting ourselves trying to protect feelings.
JJ, with Justin, just specifically, how would you kind of characterize the way he's kind of led through some of the ups and downs, helped you kind of through some of the ups and downs?
I would characterize it as he possesses the most important quality that any great player, any great individual wants to achieve, which is consistency. How he comes in the building every single day, he's the same guy every single day. And just being able to, see how he reacts and responds to some of these rough patches, it's been extremely comforting to know that, he's going to continue to uplift me, continue to instill confidence, and, do the best thing he can for this team, which is just being himself. All good. Thank you, guys.